and as for tonight, since it's the public presentation, the council could be or is allowed to have 2 readings, but not 3, because you need also to put on your webpage the proposed bylaw and give a period of 14 days if there would be any questions from the public and comments. And after the 14 days it is finished, you can, the council, if they want to adopt the bylaw, it's for the 16 unit, they can do a 3rd reading. So it's really a straightforward rezoning, but again, we need to go and respect the law and go through the legal process with the presentation, the written view of the PEC that was already presented. So if there's any question from the council, even from the public, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's on Main Street. Well, I can show you another report, but I can show you exactly on the map. You're okay. All right. All right.
Just if I may, Your Worship, just for clarification, are you a planner? Yeah, you're the
from the CIP. It's a
good.
Canadian planner. I used to be for the past. It's my 21st year as a registered planner. I used to be the director of the planning department at the city of Dieppe. I'm from Beresford. I started my career in Beaubassin, so it's in the Shediac area. From 2005 to 2012, I was in the Shediac area. I went from 2012 to 21 in Dieppe. I created the department there at the city of Dieppe. I went to the private sector. It was not for me. So for the past 21 months, I was with the province at the Department of Environment and the local government. And like I said, I'm from the Beresford area, and there was an opening. I applied for it. So yes, indeed, I'm certified.
Well, with that said, welcome to the area. Welcome aboard. Bienvenue à Belledune.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Andre. Okay, next, and we'll be going through the rest of this agenda pretty quickly. The proceedings of, okay, we can move on to statements by members of council, and there's only one by me. It's proceedings of council bylaw amendment discussion. So I've got a prepared statement here. In December and January of 2025 and 2026 respectively, it was clear that the question and answer section of our meeting, which is voluntary by the way, was being used for purposes other than had been intended. It had evolved from being an opportunity for our citizens to access information in real time to a free-for-all solely intended to hurt people and forward a personal agenda with little or nothing to do with the business of the village. It was at that time that I began to receive numerous complaints from citizens, written and otherwise, asking how council could allow this to happen. They were rightly upset that council had failed to address this issue and that it was an embarrassment to council and the people of Belledune. On February 2nd, I came back to council with those concerns and a few of my own and stated very passionately that we had innocent citizens being hurt by this individual's actions and words, which again have nothing to do with the work of council but are simply a way to forward this person's agenda. I also stated that it was not acceptable that 2 months after CAO Lee had forwarded an email on ways to address this issue, that we had not yet had a meaningful discussion on it. I decided to take the initiative. On February 9th, I forwarded a series of my own amendments to council and encouraged them to give them feedback. Last week, I reached out to the City of Bathurst and City of Miramichi and asked and received their most current proceedings of council bylaw, as did council administration. I'm going to go through them thoroughly, as I hope and expect everyone who received a copy will also, and I expect to call a special meeting shortly to vote on an amended proceedings of council bylaw. There are three areas that are problematic with our current bylaw as I see it. First, there is no set vetting system, and that causes tremendous problems for both council and citizens. How many times through the years have council members found themselves unable to ask questions from citizens or make an educated and informed vote because they are doing so based on incomplete information? I believe we need to have agenda items forwarded sooner, a longer deadline, perhaps as much as a week in advance, and a vetting team that decides when an item is prepared to come before the public forum. This is how other municipalities do it. The second area to tighten up is the presentations, petitions, and delegations. While it is the least problematic of the three, the current bylaw allows for too much interpretation and little in the way of an acceptable conduit for information to flow between the council and the presenter. Finally, and the most problematic of the three, is the post-meeting Q&A session. There is a simple fix here. Put the Q&A session during the regular meeting, ideally before adjournment. Have it recorded so that citizens and council members can use it as a reliable reference, and fashion it in such a way that it allows for a respectful and valuable exchange of information between the requester and council without unnecessary acrimony. I will add this: unless and until council approves an amended proceeding of council bylaw that has the Q&A session taking place during the regular meeting and recorded, and with sensible parameters, I will not be sitting through any more post-meeting Q&A sessions. When the gavel drops for adjournment, I am leaving the chambers. I will not allow myself to be a target of someone's venom, and I'm not going to place myself in a position of liability. This is an easy fix should council wish to address it. Let me finish by saying that it is unacceptable by our council, and that includes me, that we would have allowed someone to, or anyone to come into our council chamber and use the people's chamber in such a manner. If you have a personal issue with someone, take it to the proper authorities to have it dealt with. Take it to the RCMP. Take it to Service New Brunswick, or any provincial and federal department that can properly oversee your dispute and have it attended to. But don't come into our council chamber, the people's chamber, and use it so that you can forward your own agenda, an agenda that has nothing to do with the business of the municipality. Council, expect an amended bylaw in front of you soon, and feel free to take the initiative to come up with some suggestions of your own. So that's my statement on that bylaw. Anyone else?
And I also would like to focus as well as what he said. These chambers that we sit in should be respected and used as a format where we relay to our residents what we've been doing, what we've been working on, decisions that we've made, bylaws that we were working on. But unfortunately, the chambers has become disrespected in that manner. So I'm just hoping, you know, that we can bring up the positive messaging again in these chambers and to respect it. So that's what I'm expecting from residents. That's what I want to say. We just need to do a better job, all of us.
I agree. We need to have respect on both sides. You know, questions are no issues. If we have the answers, we'll get them. If we don't have the answers, we'll get them. But I think respect needs to be brought back to the chambers, and changes need to be made. Thank you.
If I may also, Your Worship, I think we had an example of it here tonight. At the end of the day, from 2012 to 2016, question period was done during the public meeting. At the end of the public meeting, when question period was over, the meeting was adjourned. That was to keep the questions on the record and for the record. With that said, I would kind of like to throw out there as an idea that when we have presentations or anyone wishing to make a presentation to council, they must submit their presentation by Thursday at 2 o'clock to be on the agenda. With that said, there's nothing stopping us from saying that anyone wishing to ask a question that would be addressed in public, that they could present their question to the clerk prior to 2 o'clock on Thursday, which would be included in our public meeting. At that time, once council has had a chance to look at the questions, just as we did here this evening, if the question is something that we feel is not relevant or is not what we need to do, then at the end of the day, we can have that question removed from the agenda, or if there's 5 or 6 questions, we pick the one that we feel is inappropriate and remove it and answer the other 4. So with that said, I believe that's the simplest and most easiest way to deal with questions. And I say that because when we'll start asking for questions, a month in advance to answer at public meetings, by the time we answer the question, the problem that it's trying to address may already be gone. So with that said, I just believe that, there's always an exception when it comes to urgent issues that council need to deal with. But if we had the question on the agenda by Thursday at 2 o'clock and council is even bound to that target, we must have our agenda items available by the Thursday at 2 o'clock to be on the agenda for Monday night. So I don't see any reason why that couldn't run smoothly and objectively and have questions answered publicly.
May I say something?
Yeah, sure.
So just to make it known, Mr. Mayor, you and I had this discussion multiple times about order in the chambers. And I've raised it a few times. And everybody has a right to have questions, and everybody has a right to have the answers. But there has to be a line of respect. I've said it publicly to you people. I've said it multiple times to the mayor. And I just think that if people can act as respectful as possible, I think that things that concern the village or things happening in the village, like I just think that things can move forward. But when you're continually just nitpicking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, I just don't see any progress in that. I've said it, I'm saying it again. I honestly hope that order and respect, because these meetings have gotten, like, it's the talk of the village. And I'm gonna tell you, I personally, I don't want to be included in that. That's not who I am, it's not how I work, and it's not how I put myself forward, so I don't want to be included in something that I'm not doing. So order here, respect here, both should be number one, and that's my opinion.
Okay, and those are all good points. I would add one more thing into the presentation section. I think the entire presentation needs to be, I don't think you can receive a synopsis of what the presentation is going to be. I think the whole presentation needs to be given. This is the presentation I'm offering. Here at council, you have 4 or 5 days to prepare so that you're not taken by surprise and you know how to address it. Because what we get for our presentations is, here's a synopsis of what I'm doing, and then it's just, you don't get that through the presentation. It's entirely something else. So if it's not a full presentation and stated verbatim at the presentation, then that person needs to sit. They're not, that's the presentation you give. And their council understands what it is, and then you can answer to it if you need be. And there's no reason it can't happen that way. So that's going to tighten your presentations. If you put the Q&A through the regular meeting as we talked about and record it, And so, I mean, there's plenty of models out there, both Bathurst and Miramichi, even though they don't strictly apply to Beldoon, they're solid. And, you know, I've talked to administration from both cities. They cannot believe what's happening here in Beldoon. I got a call from a major shareholder today, a major economic development partner today, and he said, "What is going on?" I can't answer. Like, the day after, 2 meetings ago, Chief Richardson and his brother email. They're economic development partners. They're saying, what? Who? If you're a business development or a corporation in Montreal or New York or Boston dealing with the port and you see these meetings, what are you going to think? Okay.
I just have a quick question. Are you holding statements by members of council to the same standards as presentations by the public? Because we get a lot of vague statements, headings, but no actual information about what somebody wants to discuss. So will council be held to the same standard and have to provide the entire statement and read that verbatim to council?
Well, two things about that. I think if you have a vetting process in place, that's an actual vetting process, that's going to help that. And secondly, I think it should. I think it should. I think if you're a council member and I'm not talking about a spontaneous response, but if you have a statement that's prepared, but that's why it's hard to do it on Thursday. If you have it the Monday before, council members have it, they say to the clerk treasurer, I want to respond with a statement, here's my response, then everybody sees it and it should be read verbatim. And then, you know, once you tighten these things up, but what's happening, there's so much back and forth and there's so many loopholes to our bylaw that no one's prepared for anything and everyone is taken by surprise. And then your answers get caught up in your emotion and then it turns into something that it's not supposed to be. Perfect example
and
tonight,
you're-
and I'll take responsibility tonight. My back and forth with Ms. Cormier was not appropriate. And I'll admit that, but friend of mine and a good guy. But my response was not proper. I should have controlled my emotions and said it in at least a much more controlled way. But again, when the presentation is not known to you and something strikes a chord in you emotionally, sometimes you respond improperly. And that was not the response that I should have given. It was my sincere response, but it's not the proper response as a chairperson.
Okay, so back to vetting. In the past, you tried vetting the agenda with the aim to essentially put a gag order on members of council. So I think we need to be very careful about how and what exactly your vetting process entails. Just saying.
Well, I left it open. I said your vetting team could be all of council. Or your vetting team could be the mayor and the CEO and the clerk treasurer. However you want to determine that is totally up to council. But there should at least be some vetting team. Okay, so let's move on. We have the administration reports. CEO Lee.
Okay, social environmental grant reports. We have motion 18 on the agenda. We had one request that came in from St. John the Evangelist CWL Council.
We have dash 18 motion, if someone could move that.
M 2026-02-17-18, that the social and environmental report for February 2026 be accepted as presented and recommendation approved for $250 to the St. John the Evangelist CWL Council for a great get-together supper.
Seconder?
I'll second it.
On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. I didn't leave much time for question, but Motion passed. Clerk Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Financial reports for the month of January 2026. So we'll start with our general operating fund. We had a balance carry forward of $68,947.72. We had deposits and interest revenue of $398,680.42. Checks issued in the month of January, $399,059.40. Other payments made through EFT and direct payment of $109,220.64. Outstanding checks as of December 2025 were $68,330.01, and at the end of January 2026, it was $260,738.83, which left us with an account balance of $151,756.92. The capital reserve account balance as of January 31st, 2026 was $3,072,046.93. The capital operating reserve account balance was $236,497.14, and the gas tax fund balance was $826,370.09. Accounts payable as of January 2026 was $57,948.37, and accounts receivable were $447,235.82. In the utility operating fund, we had a balance carry forward from December of $9,337.56. We had deposits and interest revenue of $6,841.16. Checks issued and online bill payments, $5,331.60. Checks outstanding at the end of December 2025 were $48.30. Checks outstanding at the end of January were $144.90, leaving us with an account balance of $10,943.72. Capital reserve account balance at the end of January was $96,181.22. Operating reserve account balance, $4,168.70, and the trust account balance was $33,622.71. The accounts payable for the utility fund, as of end of January, there were no accounts payable, and accounts receivable were $15,352.51.
So we have a motion there to accept.
M 2026-0217-19, that the financial report be accepted as presented and the accounts payable be paid.
Seconder,
I'll second it.
on the question. All those in favor say aye. Motion passed. Bylaws and policies, -20.
Sorry, just real quickly here. So this is the amendment that was required by Mr. Fournette after his presentation. So we'll need the motion read, and then the clerk treasurer has the bylaw that she can read through the for the first and second readings.
Okay, can we get a reader?
Hold on, I lost it. Okay. M 2026-0217-20, that the bylaw number 17-02-2025, bylaw to amend the rural plan of the Village of Beldoon, being bylaw 17-01-2008, be read at the first and second time.
Seconder,
I'll second it.
on the question, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Angela's gonna go.
Okay, the first reading of bylaw 17-02-2025. Under the authority vested in it by the Community Planning Act, the Municipal Council of Beldoon duly convene and acts as follows. Section 1, paragraph 73.1, bracket 1, bracket A of Part C of the Rural Plan is amended by striking out subparagraph IV and substituting bracket IV, a multiple unit dwelling up to a maximum of 16 units. Section 2, this bylaw is enacted in compliance with the Community Planning Act. No, we have to do a second reading. Okay. Second reading of bylaw 17-02-2025. Under the authority vested in it by the Community Planning Act, the Municipal Council of Beldoon duly convened and acts as follows. Section 1, paragraph 73.1, bracket 1, bracket A of Part C of the Rural Plan is amended by striking out subparagraph bracket IV and substituting bracket IV, a multiple unit dwelling of up to a maximum of 16 units. Section 2, this bylaw is enacted in compliance with the Community Planning Act.
On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. We're not doing 21, we're at 22.
M 2026-0217-22, whereas the Village of Beldoon sold the property identified as PID 206-97017 and require the purchaser to develop their business, and that this did not happen as expected, be it resolved that council directs staff to exercise the repurchasing option available to the Village of Beldoon in the restrictive covenant attached to PID 206-97017 before the Court of King's Bench and appropriate government entities. Be it also resolved that this be done under the name of the Village of Beldoon.
Seconder,
I'll second it.
on the question, all those.
I
well,
do
on the
have a question,
yeah, sorry.
Just like to have some clarification on the statement here. It just says, be resolved that council directs staff to exercise the repurchasing option available. Do we have funds involved, or I believe that it was just that if they did not follow the guidelines outlined, that we would just go after the property? Okay, I didn't know that.
So just to clarify, that's correct. So there's no monetary component here. There was a clause in that sale that specified that the property needed to be developed in a certain amount of time. That time lapsed. So the wording that was used here was provided by obviously our lawyer, and that is the wording that he needs to be able to progress it.
So we're ready for vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. General correspondence.
For correspondence, we had the SPCA report for January 2026. We had the Universal Rail System Track Inspection report for January 2026, and the Shallur Regional Service Commission Building report for January 2026. We also received a thank you from the Jacket River Nature Group concerning the grant that was provided to them.
You don't need a motion for that, do you, Celie? So we're ready to adjourn, then, I guess.
M 2026-0217-23, that the meetings adjourn at 8:01.
Seconder,
I'll second it.
on the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed, meeting adjourned.